is a remnant rising. This remnant, it's not a single church, it's not a single denomination or people group. It's made up of people's hearts all over the world who, after all the pruning, all the heartache, through all the process, have finally reached a point in their journey and say, you know what, God? I'm yours. All of me for all of you. I want my life to look like yours. I am willing to learn. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to answer the call if you will be with me. It's time to answer this call. It's time for the remnant to rise.
Hey guys, welcome to Remnant TV. We are so excited that you are joining us today. Listen, there is a remnant of God's people that is rising up all over the earth, and we believe that you are part of it. So we're really glad that you're joining us. We have a really special guest today. I'm super excited to introduce her. She has been Miss San Antonio Woman of the Year. She is the founder and executive director of Aid the Silent 501c3 nonprofit. She's an advocate and she's a believer in Christ. Please welcome Emma Faye Redkin.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. I feel like we haven't seen each other in a minute.
A long time now.
I
yes.
know.
But every time I'm with you, we do something cool and special. So I'm like, yes, of course.
Man, see, that's why she's amazing. And also just to introduce our interpreter, Jhonelle Bean. Thank you so much, Jhonelle, for being here with us. Yes, thank you. So Emma, I feel like I could go on and on about like what you've done in the community and things that God has laid on your heart, but in perfect Remnant TV fashion here, we kind of want to get to know you, but in a fun way.
Okay.
So we're going to do the game This or That.
Okay.
Have you ever played that game?
Yes.
Yes?
It makes me a little nervous what this or that could be, but okay.
Cool. Okay, so here we go. First question. When you put toilet paper
Okay.
on the roll, right?
Yes.
Do you put it on under or over? How do you pull off the toilet paper?
I put it over.
Yay! Okay.
Because I put it over because if a guest is coming, I want to be able to target like the triangle thing. So I
you're
make
fancy.
it fancy.
Yeah.
But only when guests are coming. Normally I'm just like extra rolls stacked on top.
Okay,
But
cool.
still over. Because when I want to feel fancy for a guest, I'm going to create a design.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. See, I got to step up my game because even my guests, I'm like, here you guys go, toilet paper, fresh, clean. God bless you. I don't even know how to do the little triangle thing. So yes, okay.
That's my reason.
Over. Second question, coffee or tea?
Coffee. Oh my goodness. Only
Let's
coffee.
Go. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
because
you.
seriously, that's the one thing that once I get out of bed every morning, I'm like, I'm going to make a cup of coffee and then I will function and I will talk to other people.
Yes.
It's got to be the coffee. And sitting and quiet for a bit and then going.
Nice, nice. I love it. Music or podcast?
Music.
Because
I'm deaf, yeah.
No, I was about to say because you're in music.
Yes, I love music. So, I mean, there's all sorts of resources for that, the lyrics. So pretty recent, like in the last 2 years, I mean, Apple Music has the lyrics.
Yeah.
Spotify, more and more, you're seeing the lyrics. And then they also will have, you know, different deaf artists will interpret them. But podcasts are hard because they're not quite accessible yet. So many friends are sending them like,
okay.
sorry, no, I don't know.
Right,
so
right.
many of them don't have transcripts, don't have accessibility.
Oh, okay.
So people don't always think about that.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things that deaf people can enjoy.
Well, that's something that definitely needs to change here.
Yes, I agree.
But last question, and I feel like we're going to know the answer, but cat or dog?
Oh my goodness, dogs.
I mean,
only dogs.
You gotta
I'm
say
not a
dog.
cat chick. No,
Really?
no cats. I have a cat that I still hate. that my parents have, yes. But I have a service dog named Hank.
Okay.
He's actually my hearing dog. And Hank has been just a life changer for me because I really needed support and help. And places that going out in public, I had lots of anxiety of people coming up behind me to get my attention or not hearing environmental sounds. And there was a big moment where I almost got on a train track when a train was coming. And I was traveling a lot for my job, and it was like a metro. And I was walking across the track, and it was only dinging. The arms weren't going down. To let you know. So I'm walking, there's a metro coming, and someone grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me off. And so that was a big moment of like, oh, I thought I was so independent and navigating my road right. And I realized at that point I really needed assistance, especially because I travel. So Hank was that life-changing moment for me. And we've been together a year. So it's been such a good year with my Hank.
Yay, Hank. That is so awesome. And you know what? That kind of even helps me lead into my next question for you, Emma, because we're just going to be authentic today, right? Because that's honestly what the world needs. They need our authenticity right now. They don't need the lights, the camera, the action. They just need the truth, right? So honestly, with everything that you do a lot. You do a lot, and it's all great, but man, it's a lot. And growing up in a world that is not necessarily catered to the deaf community, can you tell us a little bit about how that has been for you growing up, and even now as a professional? How do you operate?
Yes, it's really having to adapt to every environment I'm in. And the way I can explain it, it's almost like my personality was just trapped right here. And because most people, your personality is shown when you're bantering back and forth, or you hear what's happening around you, and you can add like a fun, witty thing. So it was the painful thing of people not really knowing my full personality. People closest to me did, but most of the world just assumed, okay, she's shy, she has a disability, she talks funny, she had big hearing aids. And so it was a sad misrepresentation of my real height and my real personality, and just basic things like my education, even going to church. None of that was open to me to enjoy. So my whole life I thought I had an intellectual disability because of hearing loss. I really believed that something was seriously wrong with me as a person. But later as an adult, you start to realize that the world can be for you. And it just takes a little bit of inventiveness. It takes teaching people. So what most people, I felt like growing up with just unkind. Now as an adult, I'm able to kind of reshift my focus and really teach those moments where someone, says something insensitive, or they just are not looking at me, or even with the mask thing right now, being able to teach people instead of being angry. And that's where the heart change has happened. Because I feel like our world's so angry at injustice and oppression. But instead of that, how do we teach people and lean in close? Hey, you said this, you posted that, you meant this, but I want you to understand like why that is damaging to my life. So just remembering that standpoint. But just, probably the biggest wound was just relational, because with hearing loss, it's a relational issue. It's communication. And Helen Keller, she was asked in an interview once, she was asked which is worse, to be blind or to be deaf, because she had both perspectives. And she said, blindness separates me from the material, from things, but deafness separates me from people, the relational. And so that was the wound of being deaf growing up. And even things that creep in now. That's the brokenness of struggling and hearing loss is you're constantly looking for those relational connections.
Right. Wow. You said something. You said being able to teach people without becoming angry.
Yes.
Teaching people.
Full of angry people right now. Yes.
I believe, we know,
Woo.
especially with what we're living in right
I
now.
know.
And so
Yeah.
that is powerful. And
Thanks.
that is so amazing because it's intricate to your testimony, but it's so applicable
Yes.
to everything else that our culture in America and even worldwide, that we're facing here. And so what is one thing that you wish the hearing community would know about the deaf community?
It's just gonna take you being willing to step into the shoes of someone deaf. So you can never understand what it's like to be deaf if you're hearing. But just trying to be aware of, if someone is deaf, they're very visually dependent. So as best as you can, creating the best visual environment. Even learning basic sign language is so helpful. Just being willing, I think, to reach into a deaf person's world, because I feel like most of the times people shut down and like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, you're deaf. And that's the worst thing. I say I'm deaf and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry that you're deaf. And I'm like, I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry, but
yeah.
we just try to communicate, because when they say that, then they shut down and they walk
Whoa,
away.
right.
Because they're like, oh no, I can't engage now. It's like, we were engaging.
Absolutely.
But you got afraid in that moment.
Yeah.
And so there's different degrees of deafness, and
Yeah.
even someone that's a strong, like, only sign language person that's deaf, they're still going to desire connection. So you just have to think it through in a different way to communicate. And it is the gospel. You're thinking, hey, I'm going to take the extra step. I'm going to meet you where you're at. And I'm going to step into your world, which is what Jesus did for us. He put on flesh and stepped into our world, into our neighborhood. And so that's what you're doing with anybody that's different, or anybody that has a disability, or a hearing loss, is you're saying, I'm willing to step into your world that's a little uncomfortable and try to make a connection.
Yeah. Woo. Stepping out of our own shoes and walking in someone else's shoes, and even making ourselves aware of someone else's world, that is needed like never before. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Good.
And you know what? I want to read a statistic to you. And we'd love to just hear your thoughts on it, because when I read it was disturbing.
Yeah.
It's alarming. So what we found is that 93% of the deaf community in America have no contact with the church. And Emma, less than this blew me away. It disturbed me as a person, as a Christian. Less than 2% of the deaf community have a relationship with Jesus, have even been offered.
I know. Just the access to it.
Yes.
Yep. So it's shocking, because people don't realize how prevalent hearing loss is, and it is a disability that's not visible on the surface. And so that gets slipped under the radar, as people don't have the context of knowing, this is a huge issue. There's more people than just a few deaf people. There's an array of hearing loss. And just in San Antonio, we have 70,000 people with hearing loss.
Wow.
And I can count on my hand, maybe less, of how many churches offer accessible services.
Wow.
And so I would say there's maybe 5. And then we have 70,000 people with hearing loss that are trying to figure out where they belong. And so really what's happened is the Americans with Disabilities Act, people with disabilities have only had rights for 30 years. And nobody knows that. Nobody thinks. And we all know that once you pass something or implement that, it takes a long time for that to become the norm and accepted.
Right.
So the church, because it's not public entity, it's not required under the law to be accessible.
Wow.
Because the assumption is that the church is going to do what's biblical. Well, that gets flipped, and everybody misses the mark on that. That's what's happening, is the secular world is 30 years ahead of the church and access for those with disabilities.
Wow.
And so where do deaf people and where do people with disabilities turn to? They're going to turn to the world,
Right.
and not the church.
Right.
So there's only 300 ministries that reach the deaf full time in the entire world. Yeah. So we would be 301.
Oh my goodness. Whoa.
Yes.
That is.
It's horrifying. I know.
My gosh.
And I became 2%
Mm-hmm.
when I was 14, was when I decided to follow Jesus 100% in. And so that was such a weighty realization of there's only 2% of people like me. Like who's gonna be the person that brings it?
Right.
And so I feel like how can they know unless they're like taught? Like, how do they know? And so really,
but how can they be taught if we don't go?
Yes, we have to go.
We have to go.
So that's what's been amazing, is to see the past. I've been running the salon for 5.5 years now, and a lot of it has been training up young deaf people and training up other people, and just the awareness aspect has been critical to teach that this is a bigger issue than people realize.
Yeah.
And everybody's so concerned about their own experience, and this church, I don't like the worship band, or I don't like the pastor here, and I'm like, wait, what about access? What about actually getting
Some
in the
people don't
door?
even have an option.
Yeah, don't have an option.
Right.
So just that is so important
Wow.
to be able to teach pastors, and sometimes they just don't get it. Like they literally have skills of not understanding that this is critical. And so just a lot of it's teaching and patience and being available for leadership to ask questions and be like, hey, this random deaf person showed up. I have nothing for them.
Right.
And it is sometimes inconvenient. It's costly. It's difficult, but it's worth it. And that's what we have to teach them.
Yes. You know what? The gospel. It's inconvenient sometimes. It's costly sometimes following Jesus, you know, and it's difficult, but it's worth it.
Yes.
You hit the nail on the head. So we are going to be right back. Emma, thank you so much. We're going to continue this discussion when we return. Thank you so much. You're watching Remnant TV. Hold on real fast. We'll be right back.
Close your eyes, rest your head upon your bed, for the birds have gone into their nests to rest until the dawn. When morning comes, they will sing their happy song.
Welcome back to Remnant TV. We are so excited that you're joining us. Emma, so just kind of as a final question here, as a Christian, as a believer, right? We've talked about a lot of things today, but how have you seen God use what the world would probably describe as a disability, right? So being deaf, but how have you seen him use that for his glory? Can he use a disability for his glory? Is it a disability? All the questions, you know, what is that?
Yes, well, definitely the belief that my disability has become my greatest ability. And really believing, and I've seen it now, is I knew when I first started following Jesus that there was something so much bigger than just myself. And I truly believe that God is going to use all of my wasted years to really bring about salvation for others. So even we see that what the enemy meant for evil, God has used for good. And so I really have seen that in my own story is had I not truly believed that God was my healer, and you know, my healing may not come on this side of heaven, but I know that my first voice, perfectness, would be Jesus' voice. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is I have that hope, is that he's the perfect voice for my life. So that's been my comfort all of my life, since following Jesus. But I know now, and I look and I see that, I mean, all of these children and teenagers and older people, everybody that we've come in contact with in the organization, and a lot of it is because my story was so broken and God redeemed it, is many people have experienced healing and salvation because of that. And so you do see that this is what was truly good, and God knew what was better. And so I know that my parents' story is, you know, very heartbreaking because they had this new baby, and she was diagnosed with deaf, and what was God gonna do? And you know, many people throughout my childhood would say, hey, she has a beautiful story, and just wait till see what God's gonna do. And now they get to rest, like, oh, that was exhausting, a deaf child, that's hard. And then now they're getting to enjoy and see the beauty of what God's done, and not only my story but their story. And so we see many people getting to belong because of moments I didn't get to belong.
Wow. And I mean, I can't help but think that is literally the nature of the Christian walk. You know, we laid down our life so someone else can pick their life up, just like Jesus laid down his life so we could live, you know, and so that is so good. So Emma, what is one thing that you would say to encourage someone who is struggling with the question, why God? Why me? Why do I have to deal with this? Why am I the one struggling in a certain area? Why won't you heal my body or my mind, you know, my heart in certain things? How would you encourage that person?
That was my biggest question for God, and really going down the answers for that really is what led me to finally say yes to Jesus, because the more I looked in scripture, the more I saw that his ways were not like my ways, and his thoughts weren't my thoughts. And I saw countless of stories of God using people that were broken and had difficulties and struggles. And so the question really is, stop looking for that answer of why, and start seeing that he is the answer. That his purpose is for glory to be known, and so that is in struggle. And God did not promise us to have perfect lives. He promises that we will actually struggle probably more. And so you have to trust that this is my platform of pain, is so that God would be known, and that I can help other people. And I feel like a lot of people come and ask that question, and I'm asking them desperately to stop looking inward at your own self. Like, I understand struggle, it's not new, but many people have come and they're angry at God, and I'm like, because you're looking inward, you're looking and seeing that my perspective, my struggle, my disease, my sickness, my circumstances. If you look outward, you're gonna see, hey, you're not alone. And also you're going to see that God's going to use that. So stop being a victim and see victory. But it isn't always the nicest thing to say, but the way you can say it is very much like, you got to choose victory. It's okay. You're going to be okay.
Amen. Something I heard you say, and I've actually read a portion of what you've shared before, is that God is He's so good at bringing beauty from ashes.
Yes. And that's my story, and that can be somebody else's story.
Yeah.
And they really just have to choose the perspective of that God's going to do it. He's going to bring that beauty.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for joining us on this episode of Remnant TV. Continue to catch us every week, Remnant TV. Listen, if you would like to be on the show and you feel like God is calling you in whatever field that you are in, please check out www.theremnanttv.com, and we would love to hear from you. We'll see you soon.
If you or someone you know is interested in being a part of the show, or you'd like to donate and become a vision supporter for Remnant TV, we would love to connect with you. Visit us at www.theremnanttv.com, or you can send us an email to riseup@theremnanttv.com. Remember, there is a remnant of God's people rising up all over the earth, and we believe that you are a part of it. We'll see you soon.